This is so creative. And
Yeah,
and thought provoking as far as this goes. And like you said, I get to see a zombie with a freaking GoPro attached to his head. That's freaking awesome. I love it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Blood and Donuts. I'm Tony.
And I'm Chris. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. Here at the Blood and Donuts podcast, we start by sharing an overview, facts, and of course, our first impressions. Then each of us, Chris and I, will give our donut rating before we go into a scene-by-scene discussion that's full of spoilers. But guys, don't worry. We'll let you know before we do that. Chris, how does that donut rating work?
So we rate our movies on a scale of 1 through 13 donuts. 1 through 4 is considered terrible. We're not going to recommend that to you, so do not go out of your way to check that one out. 5 through 8, that's kind of like a mid-range. It's worth a watch if you have time. It's not terrible, but it's not great. A 9 through 12 is great. You'll definitely want to check out a 9 through 12, even if you need to rent it. And 13, Tony, that's our elusive, illustrious Baker's Dozen tier, and that's pretty rare. We would consider that a perfect horror film, and maybe even the discussion of the best horror film of all time.
VHS 2, 2013. Two private investigators who are hired to investigate the disappearance of a college student. As they watch a series of disturbing VHS tapes found in the student's apartment, they uncover the horrifying events depicted within each tape.
And you know, fun fact for me, just show me the VHS tapes. You don't have to give me a story of why we're watching these things. Just show me the cool footage tapes and let me sit there and watch them. You know what I mean? I'm not really a fan of the narration part of it, you know, like why they're doing it, why they're watching the tapes. It's probably all connected somehow, but I don't know.
The wraparound, it always seems like they're trying to get you in this room to watch VHS tapes. But to be honest with you, I like the anthology format. I like Tales from the Crypt. I like Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
I think those two, like, I enjoy that. But you do kind of have to have a wraparound. But it always seems
speed it up.
It always
just get me there.
get me in these.
Get me to the tapes.
Get me in these shorts, man. Yeah. So
sure.
This is the sequel, or VHS from 2012, and it's comprised of 4 footage segments linked together by a 5th framed narrative, and that's what you just talked about. The thing that you don't like as much, it's kind of like forced.
Yeah, and I do like they come up with unique ways to keep the camera steady. Like why, in Blair Witch Project, it was like you grab the camera because you're filming something. In Paranormal Activity, you have a camera there because you have like a steady cam and you're watching the rooms and stuff. This film series finds unique ways to keep the camera up, where in otherwise situations, you would just be running for your life. And these, they always find a way to like, oh, it's a button cam, or it's like a spyglass cam, or it's a bike helmet or something like that. They always kind of keep it up. So I think that's a pretty inventive way to do that.
Yeah, in this one in particular, I feel like they came up with very good ways in order to hold the camera. You're always going to fall into that issue with found footage. Like, why are the cameras still rolling? So you're going to see a lot of now. Here's my issue with it, Chris. You're seeing a lot of GoPros. You're seeing a lot of digital format. It is 2013. You're seeing digital format stuff. Why is it on VHS tapes? You know what I mean? When the dude's eyeball is a camera and it's digital, it's obviously a little chip, or it's sending a signal or something. If you got a GoPro on your helmet, why is this on VHS tape? So it's 2013, and we've always said this: dead technology is very creepy. Like you think of the old creaky house with the old RCA record player, and you got a record going and it's real scratchy and stuff. That's creepy. You got the VHS tape from The Ring in 2002. VHS was kind of like on the way out, and he was like, oh, there was this tape and this cabin, and oh my goodness. But here it
was unique.
It was very unique. But in this one, I think it's pretty much all digital cameras, but it's all watched on VHS tapes. I'm just saying, I was kind of like this. I was kind of like, I've never seen it before. You've seen it before, but just here, and maybe in 2013 you didn't think about it, but here in 2025, I'm just like, isn't this all digital media? Who took the time to put this on VHS tapes?
Who went back in technology like 30 years to put this thing on a tape?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe it's all the setup. You see them where they watch the tapes.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of equipment there. So he definitely had a digital to DVD to VHS converter. It just took him a while to get there. So that's
true.
What took so long.
That's true. Even when they're in the guy's apartment and they're looking for the student or whatever, that's on a computer. That's not even on a VHS, right? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, no, it's like a video. It's like a webcam.
Yeah,
it shows the webcam there.
That's hilarious. Same budget for this one as the previous one. So they stuck with that $300,000 budget, which it shows in places, but it makes directors be a little bit more inventive.
Yeah, and I thought that they kind of stepped it up in the effects department, at least with the blood and gore in a few of the segments. There were 2 segments that I didn't care for and 2 that I really liked. And I think that one of these, Safe Haven, it's one of the universally accepted as the best segment in the entire franchise.
Yeah. Were you about to say that you think it's the best as well? You know what? Hey,
I do.
Hey, when we do our rating and then we do a synopsis and we do a scene by scene discussion, we should, after every segment, we should ask each other where you rate it. You know what I mean? Like,
where does it fall into the?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Do you want to rate the
That's
4
fair.
or there's 5 of them? You want to do the wraparound as well, or nah?
Sure. I'll just let's just do the segments.
Okay, and we'll just rate the segment. We'll be like, oh, this is my number 2. This is my number 3, and vice versa. That'd be cool like that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Speaking of Blair Witch, you talked about Blair Witch earlier. You got a director who's back. What's his name again?
You got 2 of them. There's Eddie Sanchez and then Greg Hale.
Yes.
They both did A Ride in the Park, and then they were also responsible for Blair Witch. So
yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and again, like I agree with you. I feel like these segments are better. I feel like they're more well thought out and a step above the past VHS.
Okay.
I really go ahead.
I'll say this. While I like the inventiveness of it, I found the back in the past, the young stupid me, I really panned on VHS the first one.
Yeah.
And I feel like I liked VHS 1 better than this one overall.
Oh man.
Because if you have to look at the movie as a whole, right? There's more in this one that I didn't like, and then more back in the first one that I kind of did like. Like I liked the initial the siren one and on the first one. I liked that the spooky house, the haunted house one.
Yeah.
And then the other ones I didn't mind as much, but there were a few on here. Again, we'll talk about it later. That I just really didn't care. So overall, I think I enjoyed the first one better.
That's one cool thing about this franchise. You can like pick and choose. You can pick these little segments out. They're about 15 minutes long. You can pick it out. Yeah. I can go back and watch the Succubus one from the first one, which is oh man, it's an iconic horror segment. I can go back and watch that haunted house. I think it was called 10/31/98. Is that right? Yeah. I can go back and watch that segment and enjoy it, and I don't have to get that. The wraparound in the VHS 2012 was horrible. It was garbage. Yeah. It was unwatchable at times. But those 2 segments are great, and that's what's cool about this franchise and I was kind of excited. I could tell you, like I sat down, I was like, I'm excited to see these segments, and because you're getting different directors and you're getting different ideas. And you're getting, and they have a limited budget, limited funds, and you're doing it with a GoPro, and you're doing the best you can. And I thought they were very inventive and very creative. And I found myself excited to see what they did with this one. And I'm glad there's still VHS movies I haven't seen yet. I'm really starting to enjoy it. You have to be in a mood for found footage. I've always said that because there is going to be a shaky cam there. Sometimes I want a storyline. I want music. I want actors and all this stuff. And there's actors in this, but it's different.
Yeah, I've heard that before you get too excited about the rest of the franchise. I've heard that there's not like too much more. And of course, each one is going to have like that shining star, right? You're going to have ones in the 7th installment here.
Yes.
that is worth it. So it's almost like you just need to just pick out those best ones from each segment that you like, and then kind of piece it together on your own. I have a fun little fact.
Yeah, go for it.
In the phase 1 clinical trial, which is the first segment, as it's called, that role of Herman was originally written for James Wolfe, and that is the angry video game nerd, and he was actually going to do it, but he was working on his own movie, or the angry video game nerd, the movie 2014. So he was unable to do it, but that's who they had in mind for the first one. But the guy who did play Herman was the director for this installment, and then he also directed a few in the first one as well.
Man, is it James Rolfe?
Yeah, James Rolfe is the angry video game nerd.
Yeah, I love him. I always watched his Monster Madness that he would come out, those segments that he would come out in October. I really enjoyed his YouTube channel. The box office, this film grossed around $802,000 at the box office. This is more of a cult classic, more of a cult, like amongst horror fans that kind of pass this DVD around, you know what I mean, when it comes out. Directors use different cameras and recording devices to maintain that authentic look with found footage. On Rotten Tomatoes score, this movie holds a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes, so very positive for a horror film. We've seen a lot worse come out of Rotten Tomatoes as far as horror films go.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I always look at the IMDb rating. I feel like if it's like above a 5, it's considered decent.
Yeah.
In my, you know what I mean? Like, but it's always just barely over 5.
Yeah.
And this one's sitting at a 6 out of 10 on IMDb. So
yeah,
it's slightly above average, I guess.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get into my rating, and that way that we can go ahead and get into a spoiler and kind of talk about this scene by scene, because that's where this
got a lot to talk about.
That's where this is best enjoyed. I said VHS 2 is a chaotic and chilling entry into the found footage horror anthology genre. While the shaky cam style might not suit everyone, it adds to the immersive experience if you're in the mood for it. As with any anthology, not every segment makes perfect sense, but the scares and the gore make up for it, I believe. The segments in this film are well thought out. Though the budget shows in places, in my opinion, the sequel is just slightly better than the original, with its stronger storytelling, more creative execution, making it a must-watch for fans of intense and visceral found footage horror. I give this a 7 out of 13 donuts, and I said it's slightly better, but I don't think it's a full donut better than the first one. So I'm gonna score them the same. I like them both roughly the same, depending on what kind of mood I'm in, but I think this one is slightly better.
Gotcha, man. That's a good score. And I was about to say, I was like, you scored a 7 on the first one. So let me get into mine here. So I must have lowballed the original. I think I talked about it because I want to rank this one lower than a 5. But this one, in my opinion, is not as good as the first one overall, if you take all those segments and kind of score them. It does, however, include what's regarded as the best tape segment in the entire franchise. And while I agree, even that one does have its flaws, we'll get into in a little bit. I think that this movie is a bit too zombie heavy. 2 of the 4 segments I just don't really like. Each segment has a unique at the time way to present that footage, and I think that's really commendable. The gory effects are kicked up a notch in this sequel, and I found myself like smiling and kind of chuckling while like all this bloody gore and chaos was going on. So it's really like a fun watch if you're just in the mood for some gory fun.
Absolutely.
I'm also going to give this one a 7 out of 13. I think if you're going to dive in the series, I'd recommend the first one first, but this one isn't too far behind. Check it out when you're in the mood for a jolty, gory, found footage flick.
Good score. 7 out of 13. We both give that. Highly recommended to rent if you have time and you like found footage and you're in the mood for it. We want to recommend that you rent that. We're about to get into a scene-by-scene discussion. I had to buy this on Amazon because I couldn't find it for free anywhere else. Chris?
I watched it on Peacock for free, my man.
Well, I wish you would have told me that, and I would have looked
at it. I did.
Did you really tell me it was on Peacock?
Yeah, I think I did. I said, "Hey, at least this one's free."
Yeah, I missed
And
that. I still
yeah,
rented
thanks,
it.
sorry,
Well,
buddy.
I feel like an idiot. Okay. Anyway, if you haven't seen it yet, go on Peacock and watch it because it's there. Oh my goodness. Borrow your mother's password on Peacock and go watch it. And we're about to get into that scene by scene. Here come the spoils. The film opens with private investigators Larry and Aisha. I didn't know they had names, Chris. I'm glad this
I didn't either.
spells it out. The film opens with private investigators being hired to investigate the disappearance of a college student. They arrive at his apartment, which appears to have been ransacked. They begin searching the apartment for clues, finding a collection of VHS tapes and a camcorder. They decide to watch the tapes to understand what happened. Let's watch these tapes, Chris, in this creepy-ass house.
Would you do that? Like if you were hired to investigate and you seen some VHS tapes sitting around, would you watch them if they weren't labeled?
First off, yes, I want to watch unlabeled VHS tapes, but I'd probably just stick them in a bag and watch them at the house.
Yeah, you don't stick around and watch them there.
And
Also, real quick, I felt like this movie was like, how can we get some boobs in here? Like we got show some boobs.
So,
Let's do this private eye thing and sneak up on a couple or something. Like I was like, that is just a quick like cash grab for boobs. You know what I mean?
It opens up. They're like following this rich dude to a hotel, I'm assuming, and he's like having sex with his secretary or something like that. And yeah, it peeks in and shows him, and then he gets that on film. And as they're driving away, he calls him and he says, "Your wife hired me to see if you're cheating or not, and can you outbid her for me not to send her this footage?" Which and you're just like,
sleazy.
yeah, you're just like, man, that's kind of sleazy. But then again, it ends up pretty much where the first one did. You know, you're at a house, like you said,
right? Yeah,
creepy house with some TVs on and a stack of VHS tapes, and then they're sitting there, and yeah, the wraparound is them watching VHS tapes while the other one looks around the house, which is exactly like the first one. And but the camera is in a place where she's sitting there watching, but you can also see the distance, and there's always going to be like an empty doorway in the distance, and every now and then they put something in the doorway where you're like, oh.
Yeah, it looks like they showed the kid. Now, we'll just leave him unnamed, but I think his name is Kyle. But
okay,
it shows the creepy person just kind of standing in the background, or just emptiness. So it kind of gives you that something for nothing, kind of like what Skinamarink based its entire movie off of, which was just empty doorways and empty hallways. But I thought it worked in this setting where it was just a quick, like, because you're kind of looking for that. You're kind of looking in the background for something.
Yeah. They're in this apartment. They're watching these tapes. She is, while he's kind of looking around to see if the student is available, if he's somewhere. And what do you think about this first segment that we're about to go over?
So this one is the phase 1 clinical trials, and if we're rating out of 4, because we're not going to count the wraparound story as a VHS tape.
Yeah.
But of the 4 segments, I would rank this as number 3 for me.
I would put it at number 3 as well.
Yep. It's just I like what we're about to talk about a little bit, but then the story itself just seems kind of weird.
Let me go ahead and read this, and then we'll get into it. So, And I agree with you. I'm going to put this number 3, and then we'll talk about why it's number 3. This segment begins with Herman. He's a man recovering from a car accident. He's undergoing an experimental procedure in which high-tech ocular implants are inserted into his eyes. Is it just one eye, or is it both eyes?
It's one eye.
It's one eye. And attempt to restore his sight. The implant allows him to see through cameras embedding his eyes, which are being monitored by a medical team. He passes a stranger in the lobby who stares at him knowingly.
Yeah, she was flashing some serious eyes at him. But I like how he's like, so when do I get some private time? Are you guys just going to be watching me take shits all day? Or what?
You thought about that. You're like, yeah, are you? What are you doing, man?
What if he needs to have a sesh or something? Like, have some private time.
And he's walking out, and this girl just kind of turns to him. She's standing in the lobby, and she's like, looks at him like she knows something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And looking at him later in the mirror, you can kind of see why. Like he has a really bizarre looking shiny eye. Like it's totally different than the rest of him.
So her looking at him is kind of foreshadowing what's about to happen in here, and this is very confusing. And the problem that you have with such a short segment is her character and her reasoning doesn't get fleshed out exactly.
Right. Yeah, it's very fast paced after she goes to his house that you're about to talk about. But yeah, it's very fast paced. There's not a lot of time. And I feel like some of the other ones could have been shortened a little bit more to give this one some more meaning, but it is what it is. You got to kind of take it for what it is.
He's excited about the prospects of recovering his sight. Beginning in the early stages of his recovery, the camera footage captured by the implants initially show mundane moments. He's just like playing his Xbox and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's starting to adjust to the new way of perceiving the world. However, his recovery is not as simple as expected, as he starts to see disturbing and ghostly visions, figures that he believes to be the dead, which only he can see through his implants.
Yeah, I feel like this guy kind of lives how I would live if I was single, just like pizza boxes, soda bottles everywhere, like bags of chips, like only enough room in the game system set up to like sit there. You know,
you like that setup.
Stuff.
Yeah, you like that.
I feel like that would be me, like if I was single, dude. I would just clean up enough to get to where I need to go, and then there would just be trash.
This
on
dude
side.
Definitely looked like a single dude, and his setup. But that being said, he had a mansion.
Dude, it's a beautiful house.
Swimming pool, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, it was like you walked into this gate, and then it's still outside, and there's a pool there, and it was beautiful. Like you could see the mountains, the city.
Yeah,
it's like, what did this guy do for a living, man? Holy smoke!
Your mind is working. You're like, who is this guy? What? Where does he work? Is he a millionaire? Like, does he live by himself? He was in a car wreck, and you're just kind of piecing it all together while all this is going on before you. And like you said, it's fast paced. It might be a little disorienting.
Yeah, well, with this one, it's just like it's too fast paced to really know or kind of start to care what's going on.
Yeah,
because like right when you start thinking about something else comes up and happens, and you're like, well, okay, I guess we're done with talking about that. I guess we're done with contacting the doctor. It's strange.
He starts seeing these ghostly visions. It starts with a pile of blankets in the bed. And there's like a lump there, like a human is under that. I love that, Chris. The lump under the bed. I don't like the ghosts in this.
Like when you finally see them, they just look like they're black and white and they're old timey. And I wanted to ask your opinion too, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit more. But why are they there, and who are they? Like, were they also in this guy's accident? Or something like, why are they haunting this guy?
One like, was her uncle, you know.
That's true. So
find that out. He's there in a diaper, underwear, you know, like what the crap was that?
Yeah.
So weird.
Who knows, man?
Yeah. The girl who passed him in the lobby, she visits him at his house, and he tries to turn her away for some reason. But when she asks if he can see dead people, he reluctantly lets her in. She explains that she can hear dead people after I guess she received some type of hearing implant, right? Like she lost hearing.
She was deaf, and then her mom took her to the same place, I guess, to get hearing implants.
And she's like, I understand what you're going through. I hear the dead people. I bet with your new implant, you're seeing them right now. And so after he sees someone behind her, she claims that she knows it's her uncle, and she begins to distract him with sex, Chris. It's the only thing that keeps ghosts away.
Keep your eyes on me. And contrary to what you believe, hey, I can see dead people, it's not a bad play. I'm batting over 500 with that line. So it does work sometimes. You'd be surprised.
So this is what I was thinking. So she is hearing dead people. So she's been able to distract herself enough to not hear them anymore. Maybe it's loud music, maybe it's other things. So she's like, all you need is a distraction and they go away. But in his case, that doesn't happen. Or it did actually for a moment, didn't it?
Yeah, she distracted him enough to sex him to sleep, and then he woke up in the He woke up in the floor this time because lately it didn't really show, but the past few nights he's been sleeping in the bathtub, like because his only kind of safe haven is like the bathroom where he can slide that door shut, and then for some reason they can't come in or
because
all that
creepy stuff that's been happening. She just goes, that's my uncle. He's been he's been dead for a long time or whatever.
And she said that it made it imply that she was abused maybe by him or something. And then, she was like, when she first got there, she's like, you got a beer or painkillers?
Yeah, that's what it
one
is.
or the other. Yeah. And then it's like, I'll just take a beer then, I guess. Like, okay.
She really wanted a beer. She was just like, beer? Yeah. How about a beer? I'll take a beer. Okay, I guess I'll take the beer then. Yeah. Really weird. And then he wakes up and he goes to the mirror and he tells he's like, scientist guys, that sexual experience that I just had, I need a tape of that. I need that. Don't watch it. I don't want y'all watching.
And don't watch it.
Herman's visions escalate to the point where the supernatural force controlling him becomes fully visible. Clarissa, who is trying to help, becomes a victim of the entity. The force that Herman has been seeing through his implants manifests physically, and they start attacking Clarissa, dragging her away. Herman's unable to save her as the spirits drown her in the pool.
And that was pretty wild. So it was like, that was his kind of last shot. Because he's already like tried to call the scientists. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to be by there tomorrow. And y'all are going to get this out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what it costs, but like this thing's coming out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it starts to really ramp up in the frantic trying to save Clarissa. So that's kind of like the only takeaway I got from this portion of it was it did ramp up. You kind of see the same little jump scare. You turn the corner, there's an old guy or a little girl. You don't know who they are. You don't know why they're there. I think they must be the victims of his accident.
Yeah, maybe.
That caused him to get this eye implant. That's all I can really think of as to why they're there and why they're attached to this guy.
As the scientists who are running this trial, do they know that they have ghostly finding equipment in these devices? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And they're watching. Are they evil in that regard? Because scares they're not that well done. I do like the bed scare. Like when it like, because earlier there was nothing in the bed, and then this time he sees the lump in the bed and he pulls it and there's a girl there. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. You see it progresses into something scarier each time, but just really not impressed by the ghosts themselves.
Yes.
Overall.
Herman attempts to escape from the supernatural entity by removing the ocular implant that are allowing him to see the spirits. That's a really cool scene where he just goes in there. He's like, I'm getting rid of this thing. And he takes like a straight razor and just like slices that thing out. However, the entity continues to torment him, sealing his fate. He is overwhelmed by the malevolent force, and the footage from the implants shows a horrifying revelation. The force is fully taking control of him. The entity shoves the camera, that eyeball, down his throat as the first tape ends. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of those, like when he's taking it out, you kind of like cover your eyes, but then you're kind of peeking through it. Because it's like
so
you want to see it, but you don't.
Yeah, it was so
bloody. It's so gory. But yeah, it might be time to call the cops at this point. At some point you got to say, hey, I need to get the police involved.
Yeah. But yeah. And then that one ends.
What do you do?
Yeah. What do you do?
Logic. So yeah, the reason that one ranked number 3 for me, the ghosts were just underwhelming. I think is kind of my last takeaway. Yeah,
so the ghost scares were underwhelming, and then the girl just kind of showed up. She doesn't have his address. Like, how did she get there? Like, what are we even dealing with here? You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing. Just like, it's a short story. It's a short 15-minute story, and I get we can't flesh this thing out. Unfortunately, I have a brain, and I'm sitting there thinking during the whole thing, like, how did she get his address?
Because you suspend the disbelief, but then it's like, come on.
Yes. Next segment is a ride in the park. Mike gets a call from his girlfriend as he sets up for a bike ride on his new bike. The footage is captured from a helmet-mounted camera. He tells his girlfriend, Amy, hey, I'll be home soon. But while riding through the park, Mike stumbles upon a horrific scene. A group of people are viciously attacked by zombies. Mike attempts to understand what's happening, but he is soon bitten by one of the undead. The bite causes him to begin the slow process of turning into a zombie.
So, like with the first segment, I love the camera that you don't put down. This is like a GoPro strapped onto a biker's helmet.
Yeah.
And it's about to give us, from what I know at the time in 2013, this is like the first POV zombie that's about to happen. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell where this is going, that you're about to have a helmet, a camera mounted helmet, and you're about to be a zombie. So you're going to see how they attack the living. And we need to rate this one real quick. So what did you rate this one?
I'm going to put this one number 2.
And I would agree with you.
Oh man, I was so scared there. I think this is so creative. And and thought provoking as far as this goes. And like you said, I get to see a zombie with a freaking GoPro attached to his head. That's freaking awesome. I love it. It's really cool. It opens up with his girlfriend calling him, and she is horny, and she's just like, "When you gonna get home?
Really?
You need to, what does she say?
Ride the bike more. You ride that bike more than you ride me, Mike.
And his geeky ass,
take me for a spin.
His geeky butt was just like, hey, I got to get out here and get on these.
Okay, I'm gonna go jump some hills, and I'll be right back.
I gotta ride that bike, baby. That's hilarious. That's his bike. He sees that there's some people. No, he sees. Does he stumble? Help me out with this.
She runs out into the trail, and
that's what it is.
Stops him.
Yes.
So he's riding a bike, listening to like dubstep or something, and then all of a sudden he sees this chick like run out of the woods and kind of stop him in his tracks.
She's like, "You got to help my boyfriend back there." She's like,
"Yeah, my boyfriend." Yeah. And then he's like grabbing her bite, like he's like grabbing her arm where it's bit, and she's like screaming and stuff.
Yeah. He begins to vomit blood. She vomits blood first.
She was vomiting blood first. Yep.
And you see that it's freaking disgusting. It's gross, and you see that she's turning into a zombie. Then he begins to
sounds like
he begins to vomit blood, showing the same symptoms as the zombie that bit him. Soon he finished turning and falls to the ground. A few moments later, 2 unsuspecting bikers find Mike. They call for help. Mike reanimates and attacks the pair, overpowering them both in their struggle and confusion.
And you mentioned it earlier. I like how this one tells a story quickly. This one is like shorter than the first one, but it gets the job done with like, like he's about to turn because he saw her throw up blood, and now he's throwing up blood. So you can tell that he's about to do the same. You know what I mean? Like he's about to be a zombie. And it's really cool how he kind of like dies, and then he's kind of just waiting for a victim to come across him, I guess,
Yeah. And it's an actual park. It's daylight horror, which you don't get a lot of. We talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talk about this on the podcast a lot. Midsommar is one of those movies, or you get daylight horror. So this is total daylight, and and he's just like kind of walking around. I think in this one we talk about it talks about how he like bites his arm at one point, like. Yeah, you're like you're a zombie. How stupid are you? You're like, is this good flesh? He didn't like
learning.
Yeah, he didn't like the taste of that, and Night of the Living Dead and all that. I don't know if you ever get like the full thought out experience of being a zombie.
They just want brains in those movies. They just want the brains part. Brains. They don't want flesh.
Mike's victims slowly turn as he tries to eat everything in his path. He tries to bite his own arm and a victim's wallet, finally feasting on one of their guts. After a while, both victims reanimate and join Mike in the hunt for new meat. They hear what sounds like a birthday party in the distance, just like you would find at a park, man. This is so real.
I really like how he's like sitting there just chomping down on the guts. And then the chick biker like that he also bit like walks up, and they kind of look at each other, and then the other one raises up, and they all look at each other like, okay, well let's all join up. I guess
we're a group. We're a group of zombies now. And you got a little pavilion out here, and they're having a birthday party. And when it cut to that scene, I was like, You're used to in these segments not having a bunch of extras and actors and stuff like that. But when it cut to the pavilion and there was actual little kids on set
Little kids
with
there,
parents and balloons, I was just like, oh my goodness, they went all out for this. This is hilarious.
Yeah, you kind of wonder like how they coach the kid. Like, hey, look at this. It's just syrup, kids. Look, it's just fun. Like, it's just fun.
I was in a movie and I can't watch it till I'm 18, you know?
Right.
Like, what, is that what you do?
Right. Like, yeah, you start in it, but you can't watch it until you're, old enough. That's right. Hey, that's what happened on a Interview with a Vampire. Kirsten Dunst's parents didn't let her watch it until she turned 18.
That's probably a good thing. 3 zombies attack the party of a young children and adults. The partiers frantically escape from their. There's multiple casualties. Mike's stabbed in the eye, run over by a truck, and shot. Yet he still continues to try and fight for human flesh.
I like how they were. They tried that jump scare with the truck, right?
Yeah.
Like he picks up a teddy bear and then he looks over and it's like that's like a more jump scary than the first segment. Like,
So good.
I was like, oh my goodness, like, and it's funny, and the special effects just are really well done. Like the guts, you can see they're like hanging out. The zombies are like tripping over their own guts, and
yeah, it's really well done.
And the pitchfork in the eye, and he like yanks it out, and it's like on there. It's really gory.
So brutal, and it's cool. Like when the truck's coming up, and you like see him get hit and stuff like that. Like it's POV zombie. You never get to be the zombie getting hit,
and his legs snapped.
Yeah,
you see his legs.
Oh, it's so cool. After being run over, Mike butt dialed his girlfriend, who tells him to be safe and that she will see him soon. Hearing this and watching a mother cry over one of the victims, Mike crawls towards his shotgun on the ground and shoots himself. Kind of sad.
Now here's the part that I don't like. I don't like that he became self-aware. He's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
He grew a conscience after he's dead.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that part. Now, I have Amy come to the park and, hey, Mike, I heard a bunch of screaming. What's going on? And then he kills Amy or Amy kills him. And then, it ends on a bad note anyway. But don't have him become self-aware and like shoot it. I just thought that was a little cheesy at the end. That's the only thing I found wrong with this.
That's not typical zombie behavior. I agree.
Right.
But I don't think anything about this was very typical zombie. You know what I mean? Like, as far as like all the POV and stuff like that. And I'm okay with it. It's a way to quickly end a 15-minute segment. You know what I mean? We got more segments. Yeah. We got more movie. And it started with her talking to him and it ended with her talking to him. And he's just kind of like, oh, that conversation that we just had 45 minutes ago, and like it not self-aware, but kind of clicks on the monster that I guess you're right, self-aware, and then he goes and kills himself. Like there's no end to this kind of thing. I was fine with it, and
and that's the only reason it's kind of number 2 is I did have that flaw, and then I like the next one so much better. But this one is it's short, but it's really effective. So this is one of that's why it's up there for me as far as my favorite.
The next one is Safe Haven. Chris,
all right.
I'm gonna put this at 4. Obviously,
you have to.
Yeah, no, of course. This is number 1.
This one's definitely number 1. The button shirts, you can kind of get away with it or whatever, but the style that it's done in, I think, is pretty cool. It's like a documentary. They kind of work their way into this cult's compound, and it's funny because while it's going to sound weird and convoluted, but this one could have been a full-length movie.
Okay.
Like you could have fleshed out the characters. You could easily turn this into this was like the longest short, if you will, of the movie. But then also this segment, I think, runs on just a hair too long. Towards the end, it gets kind of like, really? Like we're still doing this thing? So it could have been longer, but it was too long, if that makes sense.
Well, this thing is so freaking gory and disgusting, and there is so much storyline amongst these characters in such a short amount of time. There's a little bit of comedy in there. The gore is ridiculous, and yeah, like you said, this is a good little segment here, man. I love this. You want ready to hop into this?
Let's do it.
So you got a film crew, interviewer Malik, producer Lena, who's also Malik's fiance, Malik's best friend, Adam, and cameraman, Joni. They infiltrate Paradise Gates, a cult in Indonesia, to film a documentary about their mysterious activities with numerous hidden cameras. After persuading the cult's leader, a man referred to as Father, to allow them access, they're invited inside the cult's compound by a woman known as Madame. The crew finds the walls adorned with bizarre symbols, school children in classrooms, and women dressed in white garments.
And that's a lot to unpack, but this one is very creepy. I like the little girl, and it's kind of like sad too if you kind of lose yourself into this documentary. But
Yeah.
the little girl's like, "I'm not a girl. Father made sure of that." Like, and then the girl cuts her off like, "No. We all, we don't speak ill of Father, and he provides for us, and it does a really good job of building that atmospheric cult thing. Like, you can see the different camera angles. You can see like kids are studying, and then there's a lot of unseen here too. But it has a lot of those like Blair Witch looking part. Did you notice that?
Yeah. There's
has, and I think that was
like my stick effigies over here.
Yeah, and I think that's a nod to the guys who
absolutely
directed the other short. Yeah. So they kind of all went in there for that. But this one is really good.
It opens up and they're interviewing Father, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you grant us access inside this thing, so we can give a non-biased view to the and he's like,
he's like, no one inside."
But
he doesn't let him at first because he doesn't want, and they're like, well, look, if you let us in, it's to show that you guys are not this creepy cult that the outside perceives you as. So then it cuts to them actually being let in. So he ultimately does agree. And,
but we know they have motives to uncover what he's doing.
Yeah. Because it seems like they're there to kind of bust him out on some stuff.
Yeah, obviously they're there to uncover the children stuff and everything that's going on. They're all wearing cameras, like little button cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah, little button camera.
Yeah, and they're gonna take a tour and they're gonna do an interview type of thing. And we'll find out that the father probably knew, the cult leader knew that they're coming at a time when all of this was just gonna come to a head. And it's nuts.
Yeah.
During their interview with Father, who reveals that he has had sex with the women and children of the cult to purify them, Lena almost vomits and she has to step out. While he searches for a spare camera battery, Malik overhears a private conversation between Adam and Lena, in which the latter reveals that she's pregnant with Adam's child, but she hasn't told her fiance Malik. As Adam ditches Lena and explores the basement, he finds a woman strapped to a chair with her womb carved out. She awakens and begins screaming and convulsing, causing him to run away.
Yeah, that's not something you usually tell your friends. You usually don't tell them that it's not their baby. You know what I mean? It's one of those bro code things, isn't it? Where you're not allowed to tell them.
100%.
Yeah, this one is, and it splits up the group in a cool way too. They're all sitting there, and then Lena kind of gets like a morning sickness kind of. You don't know it's morning sickness at the time, but you know she kind of has to excuse herself so that she's gone. And then Adam kind of goes and finds her, and then it's like, oh, we're out of battery. And then Malik runs off to go get a battery, and he leaves Joni there with Father, and he like sits in the chair and he like, runs his hand through his head, and then he's like just looking at Father, and he's like, hey, and the Father just like looking at him, really pissed. Like it's creepy.
Oh yeah,
like he's just sitting there staring at him like, why am I talking to you?
Joni goes, so what do you think about organized religion? which I thought was really funny. But the father, dude, you can see him on the camera. He's like cutting himself with razor blades. They're like, dude, you're bleeding.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? He's acting really weird. And then you have this story amongst the interviewer groups, this drama that's going on where the freaking the best friend slept with dude's girlfriend, and obviously they had a baby together. And the Malik is finding out about this when he goes out to check for a battery. He's seeing this live. They're talking about this. His heart is broken. You're sitting here as the viewer. I wonder how this is going to pan out between these guys. But none of that really matters. You know?
Right.
In the great scheme of things, you're like, as a human being, you're sitting there like, that's awful. This drama between friends. How can he ever forgive him? It doesn't freaking matter because something crazy's about to freaking happen. None of that matters, right? It's nuts.
All hell is about to break loose.
All hell is about to break loose. So dude goes downstairs in the basement. He starts seeing weird things like claws hanging up, like a ransacked, disgusting makeshift hospital, you know, and there's a
Blood
woman
splattered on those plastic curtains.
Oh,
kind
it's
of thing.
disgusting, like a haunted house or something like that. And a girl strapped down, and her just like, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
While father's being interviewed by Joni, a bell chimes, to which the cult leader suddenly announces the time of a reckoning over the intercom. After Joni repeatedly interrupts the announcement to ask what is happening, father slits his throat with a box cutter, after which the cultists begin a mass suicide via poison and gunshots. Malik is apprehended and shot dead by the cultists, and Lena is abducted by Madam and several women in surgical apparel.
And we haven't really talked about it too much, but I don't know if we can express how good of a job the acting overall is in just this segment.
Yes.
Like the other ones, they're fine. Like A Ride in the Park, you didn't really need much acting.
Yeah.
Same with the clinical trial. That was a bit weak. This one has some very strong acting.
Yeah.
The guy who played father, Epi Kusnadar, whatever. He does a great job because like at first he's like a shy, kind of timid cult leader, and then he converts into this convincing authority figure who's trying to proceed with this ritual, and then he turns into a crazy guy who's like stabbing. Just a wide range of acting skills, just right in there. So really well done on the acting part.
Vicious. Just vicious. And even the madam or madame who's given the tour, just very just like, it's like very like she's under some type of spell. And then you got the children and they're in the classroom and stuff like that. And even something happens with them here in a second. It's just it's all very well acted and very well done, and it plays on all the senses.
Because it's really sad, like all the kids are like drinking the Kool-Aid, and then it shows them all laying down and vomit. Like it's like holy crap. Okay,
it's crazy.
Everybody's dying here.
It's a nut freaking scene. It's freaking crazy. Adam follows them in an attempt to rescue Lena until an explosion knocks him back. He watches a figure crawling across the ceiling and tries to enter the fiery room, only to be intercepted by father, who is now covered in blood and has the cult symbol inscribed on him. Father tells him it is fulfilled, and then he explodes into a pile of blood and organs.
Yeah. I didn't really elaborate on the thing crawling on the ceiling. Like it never goes back to that. So I'm wondering what that was.
Yeah, I have no idea what that was.
But another creepy part is the button cam on Lena when those nurses are dragging her away, and they're all like laughing, and as they're carrying her down the hallway.
We're having a good time. This is the best. You're lucky. You're so lucky.
Yeah, you're lucky. You get to have this whatever we're about to deliver into the world. Like it's so creepy.
Yeah.
Like it gives me chills just thinking about it.
Yeah. They're excited because they get to be a part of it. They're getting to drag her back there. She's about to give birth. They're excited for her because she's so lucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man.
And nobody really makes an attempt to kill Adam.
No.
You notice that?
Yeah.
Like father's like, you don't need that gun anymore, son.
No,
it's fulfilled. And
it's
then
fulfilled.
He explodes. And then it's an interesting I know why they don't kill him, but
this is all part of the plan, man. Hey.
Yeah.
Everything, you being here is part of the plan too, buddy. It's crazy. Adam finds Lena on an altar in the room ahead of him with the same symbol carved into her skin. He kills Madam and the woman holding Lena down, but is unable to save Lena herself before the demon the cult worships, which resembles Baphomet. Which, maybe. I mean, like this thing, whatever. So the demon that the cult worships, which resembles Satan, like a goat-like figure, right, Chris? Tears its way out of her body and he flees. Adam discovers that the cultists and school children, including Joni and Malik, have risen from the dead and they've turned into zombie-like ghouls who proceed to attack Adam. He flees in the car, drives off, only to be rammed by the demon and gravely injured.
Yeah, this is where, and it didn't really talk about it, but where he sees a couple of cultists who are alive, and they're shooting Malik, like they have him like execution style, about to shoot him, and then they shoot him, and then he looks over at Adam and he goes, "It was a pleasure to meet you, sir," and then he shoots himself, and it's like, holy crap, like it's nuts, crazy, and the reason is because he's the father of this thing, so they're fine with him being alive, like they're all killing themselves for him and his son, as it were, quote unquote. But that's a really creepy scene where he's like, "It's a pleasure to have met you," and then he blows them up.
Man, nuts.
I didn't really care for all the zombies coming back. Now that's where he at one point he like runs through an entire room,
and the children start grabbing him and stuff like that. You don't like that?
Well, yeah, but then like he runs right through them, and like it's a really confusing, 2 minutes where he ran into Malik, and then he doesn't get overpowered. Of course, now all the zombies are trying to kill him, so like they're not trying to let him live anymore. So but he just runs through them real quick, and it's kind of drags on. That's the part that kind of drags for me. Still a great story, great scenes overall, but that's the part where it's kind of like, okay, my logic is, I'm done suspending it, Yeah,
I get it. Right. So that demon, he seemingly he gets away and he's riding in his car and he's driving away. He's like, okay, he made it, but then he crashes. Yeah, and you see that
it's crazy. You can hear the footsteps coming too. That's pretty cool.
And you see the demon like thing, like kind of peeking over the car. And the freaking blood snot mixture that dude's like got, I can't stand it, Chris. It was freaking disgusting. But anyway,
and they did that in Blair Witch too, with the snot coming down the nose.
But he didn't direct this one, Chris. He directed A Walk in the Park or whatever it was, the ride in the park.
Yeah.
Adam crawls out of the wreckage before the demon looks down on him and calls him Papa, revealing that it's actually his child. On hearing the revelation, Adam breaks down in hysterical laughter as the footage ends.
So he's probably good, right? Like the thing recognizes him as Papa.
Yeah.
Like let's go play catch.
Let's go fishing.
Let's go outside and play ball sport.
Let's get you a glove and wrap a big rubber band around it and put it under your bed, sport. I love that. That's awesome. That should have capped off VHS too. They should have put that on the last one, right?
I think you're right. Because it sounds like it's funny that we've ranked these the same too.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty funny. So obviously we've both tied in our scores on what is first, second, and third. So that means this.
It only leaves this up for great, which is Slumber Party, Alien Abduction, which of course I put number 4. You put number 4 as well.
Yeah.
And
it just overall weak to me, I think.
Very weak. I'm not, again, and Alien's not real scary for me.
See, I don't mind the aliens themselves. I don't like how it was presented. I don't like how like it's just a big noise blast and then like they're just frantic, and it's not like this dog is gonna keep this GoPro on it the entire time.
Yeah.
It's not a good one for me. And I was actually reading a list of the best segments of VHS.
Yes.
And this one was actually like the 4th one. And I'm like, how is this?
No.
How is this overall? Of course, Safe Haven was the first, but but this one was in the top like 5, and I'm like,
Now,
how is that possible?
I was ready for this one to wrap up pretty quickly. Like, so just like, it's just kids being vulgar and trying to like be funny that way and that kind of thing, and filling like squirt guns up with piss in the beginning, right? And
Well,
squirting,
and that's what kids do, so that part makes sense.
and
You know?
and at one point they're jumping in the river or in the lake, and they do see some type of alien at the bottom of the lake. You remember that, right?
Yeah, of course.
That was a pretty cool scene. But
Yeah, I
everything,
did like but that was it.
yeah. Let's get into it. Brothers Gary and Randy attach a camera to their dog Tank, and they film videos at their lakeside house. Their parents leave on a romantic getaway, so they invite their friends Sean and Danny to harass the brothers' older sister Jen and her boyfriend Zach. All the quartet ambush Jen and Zach with squirt guns at a nearby lake. They fail to notice that there's a gray alien hiding beneath the water.
Yeah, how do you not see that? How do you not see?
I thought he had a straight look at the gray alien. I thought he was about to come up, and I thought he was about to come up and say, "There's an alien. There's a damn alien.
Holy shit, guys!"
Yeah, but he didn't. I was like, it just ran on. I was like, oh, okay.
And this one did. I mean, these kids cursed more than the people in Tarot, so I did appreciate the teenage, language.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what kids would do if they're by themselves for the weekend or something.
I agree.
Especially like ones with like siblings and stuff. Like,
I was watching it and I was excited. I was like, oh man, what kind of scares? But you're right. The scares don't land on this one. And it just like, it's like, why? Why that? And it's just the same. We'll get to it here. It's like just the reaching alien. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That night, they startled Jen and Zach while they are having sex by blaring loud music and flashing lights. A deafening noise is heard, but they do not notice it. In retaliation, Jen attaches another camera to Tank to catch Gary masturbating to a pornographic film. They're in the living room. The noise is heard again and the power goes out. Zach grabs Jen's father's gun after he sees a figure outside the door, but is suddenly abducted by an alien along with the others of its kind.
Yeah. This one, it's stupid. It's a stupid premise. You don't really need an explanation of why aliens have showed up to capture people, but even that part of it, like the underwater shot's the best one, is the best part of this segment. Like even when they're kind of standing outside of the door too.
Yeah.
And like this dog is not barking the entire time.
I hate the dog.
There's not.
Get rid.
Not many parts.
Get rid of the dog. And again, like you're trying to look for reasons to have a camera running. You know, like it's on this dog or it's you know what I mean? Like whatever. Like I get it, but why is the camera running? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one that just I don't have very many positives to say anything about. So.
The aliens attack the group. They seal them in their sleeping bags and attempt to drown them in the lake. Sean and Danny are abducted while Gary, Randy, Jen, and the rest of them run into the woods after Tank inadvertently alerts the aliens through his barks. The group run towards what they believe to be police sirens, which turns out to be a trap that was set by the aliens who abduct Randy.
And that's a 1,000 level IQ move by the aliens to like mimic cop lights and sirens. Like I thought that was a cool, unique thing that aliens would do.
I like that.
That's positive.
Yeah.
But what about Tank barking like for the first time in the whole freaking segment, right when he doesn't need to? Like it's like he did not bark when they were at the window. He didn't bark when the sirens are going off. But like right when they need Tank to really shut up, he barks.
Tank deserves to be euthanized at this point.
Yeah,
I'm sorry about that.
I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't make it.
Yeah. So Gary, Jen, and Tank, they flee to a nearby barn. Oh, the barn scene. Oh, this is so good, Chris. Hold on. Jen, she's abducted. As Gary and Tank, they escape under a ladder as the aliens close in on the barn. Gary is suddenly pulled in to the air by the alien ship tractor beam, like, you know what I mean? Tractor beam. He is unable to hold on to Tank's leash, and the dog falls to the ground, mortally injured, and he's unable to move. Tank whimpers while he and the camera both slowly die, and then the footage ends.
So at least Tank got top billing in the. It's like in the credits or something. He apparently got top billing on this movie for that segment.
Yeah.
So good for Tank there.
Yeah.
He didn't get to spend it anywhere because he's a dog, and he died. But what are you gonna do?
Would you rank this last amongst all the segments between 2012 VHS and 2013 VHS 2? Is there a word? I don't have them in front of me. But
including even the wraparounds, I would, yes. Because in the first one you have the
succubus,
the night out, succubus, the siren. You have the honeymoon retreat where the couple goes and the one gets stabbed.
Yeah.
You have the 10/31 movie, the haunted house one. That's a good one. You have A Strange Thing Happened to Emily, where she has like a little alien implanted.
That was good. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, see, they're not bad in the first one. And then there's another one in the first one. I think I just looked them up earlier, but yeah. Oh, even the wraparounds.
This would be last amongst all the segments from VHS and VHS.
I think so too.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So we got. Speaking of wraparound segments, we got to wrap this one up. You have Aisha and Larry. They're in this. They're in this apartment. They're looking for this guy. Aisha starts watching VHS tapes. After the first one, she's like, "Oh my god, this sucks." After the second one, nose starts bleeding.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Your nose bleeding."
Like, "Is it your head? I'll go run to Walgreens and get you."
Yeah. So
Motrin or something.
Like any decent man would do, he would leave his girlfriend, wife, or fiance at a random dude's house, creepy house, to watch VHS tapes while you went to Walgreens and got her some headache medicine.
Yep.
And so he comes back with the medicine. She's passed out, seemingly dead, right?
Yep. And that's like, I think after Safe Haven.
Okay.
So then beside her body, there's a tape that says watch on it, right?
Like, is it like a suicide tape? Is that why?
Maybe. Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, why would you watch that tape? Like, wouldn't you get up and say, no, not my girlfriend, not my, like, got 911 at this point. But no, you sit there and you take a tape and you put her in.
While tears roll down your face. Like, the synopsis doesn't say anything like that. Like, fraught with despair, Larry grabs the tape that says watch and puts it in. And it's so we can go ahead and wrap it up this way. So, we've already kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
But, and then after that, after he watches this alien abduction one, Aisha comes back to life and starts attacking dude, right? So he finally gets the better of her and, like, snaps her neck. And then he's fraught with more despair.
This is true, but like when that video he puts in, is it like a video of that kid that they're looking for? And and he puts a gun in his mouth, but he only shoots off his jaw. And then he gets up and runs back here. But yes, his girlfriend wakes up and he like fights with her, and then he encounters the kid with no jaw back here in the rooms, right?
Yeah, because after he snaps Aisha's neck, she runs and chases him, and he hides in the closet. And then he kind of sees her pop her head out, and he shoots her in the head. And then for some reason, he rummages deeper into the closet,
like any man would do.
Sees the jaw guy.
Yeah.
And then jaw guy shoots him, and then he gives like a thumbs up, like, "Hey, we made our own VHS tape." He's like, "Smash that like button.
Smash that like button and subscribe, man." Thank you. That's hilarious. That's so good. Yeah. Yeah.
So other than that though, man, I think they try to tie these movies together in this big franchise. I think they could have wrapped it up in like a nice trilogy. I think they make enough to where it's like most of them are crappy.
And that's what breaks my heart is I was looking for, and you just told me that these are probably the cream of the crop. That we just
there might be some. I know there's a good one with actor Stephen Ogg. I don't remember which movie it is, but he's a good one. Or he's in a good segment. There's a magic segment that's universally panned as the worst because it totally ditches the POV for like a mockumentary style. And you don't know like why the cameras are showing, but it's like basically an action part of the movie. Anyway, it's panned. I think most of them are kind of
in the comments. Please rate and rank the VHS franchise for us. I would like to revisit, and I would like to know what the best ones are. We've ranked 1, and we've ranked VHS 2, and I would like to see where the other ones fall. And so, in the comments, please give your own ranking and let us know what's a good one, what are good segments and stuff like that. We'd love to hear it. Speaking of love to hear it, what is our next videos that we have going on, man?
So coming up next week, I have picked, or in the next few weeks there, I have picked The Dark and the Wicked from 2020. Ooh. And then you have picked for your next movie in a couple weeks, Strange Darling from 2024. So we have plenty of good movies coming up, guys.
Plenty of good movies. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for subscribing, all that good stuff. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, see you guys.